All right. Welcome once again to Youth Ministry and Mentorship 101. Today, I have a very special guest. I have the youth director from the Ohio Conference, Pastor Edward Marton. It's good to have you here with us, Pastor. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. It's great to be with you.
That's awesome. You are our first youth director for the podcast. So we're hopeful and eager to learn from what you have in your knowledge base. But could we just start off with you giving us a short bio of who you are and how you got started in ministry?
Yeah, sure. I think my call to ministry, just like I would think everyone's call to ministry, begins with great mentors in their lives. And so, I felt the call to ministry at age 11. And, I started off doing Bible work out in Wichita, Kansas for a while after high school. Did some Bible work in Michigan conference, and then got called over to Ohio to start pastoring. And then after, I would say, about 14 years of pastoring, I got called into young adult and youth and young adult conference ministry. So, and all throughout those parts of call and ministry, God places mentors into our lives and has done that in my life that I'm grateful for.
All right. Uh, could you also let us know what you love about youth ministry? What makes you like have such a great day when you're doing this job of being a youth director? Like what do you look forward to do?
Yeah, I would say every part of youth ministry is amazing. I think the greatest part of youth ministry is when you see the light come on and they really understand how much the Lord loves them, calls them, and they respond to the call of Jesus, and you can see the transformation in their lives. So to me, baptizing young people, watching them give selflessly to help others and to bless others is always a great experience. Taking young people into the community, watching them grow in their relationship with Jesus. So those are the things I really enjoy. I enjoy studying the Bible with them. I enjoy serving alongside with them. And those are the things that really bring joy to my heart.
Definitely. I can attest to that. When you're in youth ministry, these young people, they have a lot of energy, and like you said, when that light bulb comes on, they're so excited.
Right.
They're full of
Yeah.
energy, and they're so enthusiastic to start ministry and to in fact, has because this has happened to me a few times. Has any young person actually come up to you and said those words like what you said today or what sermon you preached today, it really has changed my life? Has that ever happened to you, Pastor?
Yeah, that has happened. Not only just preaching in a sermon, but summer camp. It has happened. It
Wow.
happens during Pathfinder events, where you'll have a young person come up and share with you how impactful. I remember one time just being a Bible worker out in Wichita, and I invited a friend, a young person who was probably about 15, to join me on the Bible study. And as we were studying the Bible on the way home, he said, that was a study that I needed today. And so those are the things that when the Holy Spirit is able to use you to bless others, even without you knowing it, and hearing that feedback is just, it's encouraging, and it keeps you going in mentoring.
Amen. All right. Um, what challenges are there in engaging with youth in the Ohio Conference? What challenges do you think they are?
Well, I think the challenges in Ohio are not that different from anywhere else. You have challenges in many respects. One of them is just time constraint. I think today's young people and youth are just so busy with so many things from school to after school activities to just so much that trying to find time to have real genuine mentorship relationships, because any type of mentorship and relationship is built on time. And so just trying to find that time. And then of course the other things is they are just being pulled in so many directions.
Yeah.
You have the temptations in the world that is calling them to just so many different ways. So even finding the time, but even then, just the temptations that you have. And then of course there's the other things, that the brokenness. Some of our young people just come from broken homes, and so there aren't really good examples in environments that they find. Um, and if they go to a public school, there's all of those challenges and temptations that come along with that. So mentorship and building relationships, it takes time.
Yeah.
You can't short circuit it and get it done in over taking them out to lunch and that's it.
Yeah.
It takes years to build, and it takes commitment, and just trying to find that time and energy to do that, I think all leads to those challenges.
Definitely, Pastor. You need that time to build that trust, and
Right.
that's yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha. Um,
Yeah.
Now that since you are the first youth director that we had, to go into a little more detail of your position, I know that youth directors, they work with the conference and they work with local churches and federations, Pathfinder Ministry, Adventure Ministry, youth and young adult ministries. But what are some of what is a challenge that you have in that position of being the go-to person in the conference for youth ministry?
Well, I think each conference is set up differently. You really just have to see, each conference has different type of leadership ways to do things. Some have more leaders for Pathfinders. Some have youth leader as well as young adult leader. Here in Ohio, youth and young adult ministry is really one department. And so part of the challenges is trying to, and it's not so much as well as a challenge, it's also an opportunity, I think, but trying to juggle everything from adventures to Pathfinders to summer camp to young adult ministry, campus ministry. It's a juggling act. And so, you could be mentoring adventures one weekend and then the next weekend have a campus ministry. So trying to have all those age groups, and wear all those hats. But it's also opportunities. That means that you get to rely on great leaders and volunteers throughout the state,
Yeah.
that you partner and you create these amazing teams that you work with. So, I think the challenge is also an opportunity to get more people involved in mentoring, so that you don't just have one person, but these young people have more individuals in their lives that are mentoring them. So one of the things we've done in Ohio is we've created teams for our adventures and Pathfinders a ministry. We've created a team for our youth ministry, for our young adult ministry, for our campus ministry, for our summer camp ministry. And so we are able to mentor our youth and young adults through these teams instead of just relying on the youth and young adult director to do that.
All right. So what I'm hearing from you, Pastor, is that with all these responsibilities, it's about empowering other leaders
Yes. Yeah.
to help you and
Yes.
not carry that load on by yourself. So
Yeah, you put it very well. Empowering others, and when you empower others, then they take ownership and they give their whole support. Instead of trying to micromanage, you
mm,
work as a team, and it's a more effective and powerful ministry.
all right. So I'm glad that you gave insight into that, because I'm sure some young people, they look toward a youth director thinking that they do a lot, but they put it all on their shoulders. But you're giving insight that they actually
Sure.
empower other people
Yeah.
to lead.
That's right.
And you have mentioned many times about mentorship and how it's important and how you need time. Uh, are and you also said the reason you're in youth ministry is because of mentors. Could you give an example of like some advice a mentor gave you that really was impactful in your life and in your ministry?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I could give you numerous examples, but just one from when I was just a young man, about 11 years old or 12 years old. I remember this retired pastor. He was probably in his mid 60s. To me, as a 10-year-old, he probably seemed ancient, like in his 80s, 90s. But here's a retired pastor who, all he said to me is, "Hey, Edward, I need my exercise. Would you play tennis with me?" And I enjoy all sorts of sports, and I agreed to play tennis with him because I thought, hey, I love sports, and I could probably beat him, But
Mhm.
we played tennis, and he was great at it. And he not only played tennis with me, but he also would encourage me every Saturday. And I remember he'd put his arms around me and he'd say, "God has great plans for your life."
Wow.
And so here was an individual in my life when I was just in my, not even an early teen, I would say 10, 11 years old, who saw potential, who encouraged, who took time to play sports with me. And so that's just one example of a mentor who, I believe we could look at 10, 12, 15-year-olds, and we could encourage them and let them know God has great plans for their lives, and take the time, whether that means, um, eating lunch with them, taking them out to eat, or sports. I remember up in Cleveland when I was pastoring, we had a group of young adults that enjoyed golfing. And so before they would go off to school in the morning, we go golfing like 7 in the morning. We'd play 9 holes, and we had great discussions. They asked questions about dating. They asked questions about, different parts of life. We hit the ball, we walk up to the ball, and we talk. And so you're talking about mentoring on the golf course. You're talking about mentoring on the tennis court, mentoring on the basketball court. For others, it may be restaurants and coffee shops, whatever. But the point is, because of that retired gentleman, um, the fact that he recognized God's call in my life, and I believe God calls every young person to serve him, whether they're going to be an engineer, they're a servant of Jesus first, whether they're going to be, an architect or an attorney or whatever field they go into, they're chosen to be a servant of Jesus first, right?
Yes, that's
and
right.
and so we have the opportunity to speak encouraging words into the life of young people, through daily life, and to me that is very important in mentorship.
Wow. I just want to highlight what you said there, Pastor. You've been mentioning a lot of discussion, not
Yeah.
sermons, not programs. You've been mentioning hanging out with young people, playing golf,
Right.
which is amazing to me. I would have to learn to play some golf. But yeah, playing golf, playing sports, just building that trust and camaraderie. That's where the mentorship began. It wasn't in it seems like more like we have these programs so that we can start those conversations more or less.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And that's, a lot of times people create programs and they get so caught up to making sure the program goes right that they forget the purpose of the program.
Yeah.
We need to take the time to really get to know young people and to earn their trust. And so those are the things I found in my life growing up is, there were mentors that earned my trust. And so, that is what made the difference in my life.
Wow. So Pastor, as we come to a close, I wanted to ask you if you had any words of encouragement for those young people who are feeling the call to youth ministry, whether it be as a minister, a mentor, a future youth pastor, like, do you have any words of encouragement for this field of youth ministry?
Yes, I would say number one, think of the way Timothy and Paul worked together. When you look at the New Testament, Barnabas was a great mentor of Paul. But then in turn, Paul went on and mentored Timothy, and then he encouraged Timothy to go on and mentor others. So what I would say to young people is, number one, walk close with Jesus, spend lots of time in prayer. It's
Amen.
very important. If we're going to be great leaders and mentors, we need to be great followers of Jesus Christ first. And so we need to make sure that we have our time with Jesus, that he is our first mentor in our lives. I would also recommend that they find mentors in their lives that can continue to teach them, that they may learn from, to sit at the feet of great youth leaders. And I think that's important, to stay in contact with them. And I would also suggest praying for mentees that they could influence and they could build relationships with, and that they can, whatever Jesus passes on to them, they can pass on to those as well.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Pastor. Once again, we were with Pastor Edward Marton from the Ohio Conference. He said some powerful things about mentorship and how it needs time and trust. So we thank you for coming here on to Youth Ministry and Mentorship 101, where we say that youth ministry is not a stepping stone into ministry. Youth ministry is ministry, period.
That's right. That's right. Hey, thanks for your time, Eric.
No problem. Thank you.